This message is issued by the Emergency Coordination Center. Please listen closely and follow the instructions. This is not a drill. We are advising all residents to exercise extreme caution when encountering unaccompanied children during nighttime hours. Good evening. I'm Emergency Coordinator Sarah Parker. Over the past 11 days, we have received a disturbing pattern of reports involving children appearing alone in residential areas between the hours of 9 p.m. and 4 a.m. These incidents have been reported across 7 different neighborhoods, and we need your immediate attention and cooperation. The first report came in on January 12th at 11:47 p.m. A family on Maple Street called 911 about a young girl standing motionless in their front yard. When officers arrived, they found no trace of any child. Initially, we classified this as a false alarm. However, similar calls began flooding our dispatch center over the following nights. The pattern was always the same: a child, usually between the ages of 6 and 10, standing completely still in residential areas after dark. What makes these reports particularly concerning is not just their frequency, but the consistent details witnesses provide. The children appear to be waiting for something. They don't cry for help. They don't seem lost or distressed. They simply stand and watch. Detective Mark Reynolds, who has been coordinating our investigation, described the witness accounts as unnaturally similar and impossible to dismiss as coincidence. Dr. Emily Turner, a child psychologist we've consulted on this matter, reviewed the initial reports and found several red flags that prompted us to issue this emergency broadcast. According to Dr. Turner, genuine lost or distressed children exhibit predictable behaviors. They seek help. They move toward lights and sounds. They show emotional responses. The children in these reports display none of these natural behaviors. Let me share some specific incidents to help you understand what we're dealing with. On January 14th, the Harper family on Maple Street was returning home from dinner when they noticed a small boy standing at the end of their driveway. Mrs. Harper told responding officers that the child was wearing a red winter coat and appeared to be around 7 years old. She said his face was partially obscured by shadows, but she could see he was staring directly at their car. Mr. Harper got out to approach the child, planning to ask if he needed help getting home. The moment Mr. Harper stepped toward the boy, the child spoke first. He said, "Mr. Harper, you're home late tonight." Mrs. Harper later told Detective Reynolds that hearing her husband's name come from this unknown child made her blood run cold. She honked the horn repeatedly, telling her husband to get back in the car immediately. When Mr. Harper looked back at his wife, then turned toward the child again, the boy had vanished completely. The family searched their property and the surrounding area, but found no trace of where the child could have gone. Later that same night, more calls came in. Tommy Brooks, who works the overnight shift at the downtown warehouses, was walking to his car around 2:30 a.m. when he spotted a little girl sitting on the curb near the parking lot. She was wearing what looked like a white nightgown and had long dark hair that covered most of her face. Tommy said something felt immediately wrong about the scene, but his first instinct was to help what appeared to be a child in distress. As he got closer, he noticed the girl's shadow stretching unnaturally long across the pavement, reaching almost to his feet, despite the overhead streetlight being directly above her. Tommy stopped walking and called out, asking if she was okay. The girl slowly lifted her head, and Tommy said what he saw made him run back to the warehouse and lock himself inside. He told the responding officer that where the child's eyes should have been, he saw only his own face reflected back at him, as if he were looking into a dark mirror. 3 nights later, Margaret and Robert Evans on Riverside Drive had their own encounter. They were watching television around 10 p.m. when Mrs. Evans noticed someone standing in their backyard. She called to her husband, and they both observed a young boy, maybe 8 years old, standing perfectly still near their garden shed. The child remained motionless for nearly 20 minutes. Mrs. Evans said she felt compelled to go outside and check on him, but her husband insisted they call the police instead. While they waited for officers to arrive, the boy began walking slowly toward their back door. Mrs. Evans said his movement was wrong somehow, too smooth, like he was gliding rather than walking. When he reached their patio, he knocked 3 times and spoke in a clear, calm voice. "It's cold out here." The couple remained inside, and after several minutes of silence, they looked outside again to find their backyard empty. The most disturbing incident occurred just 2 nights ago. Lisa Adams, a single mother in the Pine Valley subdivision, was putting her 5-year-old daughter to bed when they both heard knocking at the front door. Lisa looked through the peephole and saw a young girl, approximately her daughter's age, standing on the porch. The child appeared to be alone and was wearing only a thin dress despite the freezing temperature. Lisa's maternal instincts told her to help, but something about the situation felt profoundly wrong. The child on her porch looked exactly like her own daughter. Same height, same build, same long blonde hair. Lisa called upstairs to confirm her daughter was still in bed, which she was. When Lisa looked through the peephole again, the child outside turned to face the door directly, as if she knew she was being watched. Lisa said the child's face was identical to her daughter's, but the eyes were completely black. The knocking continued for over an hour. Lisa called 911, but when officers arrived, there was no child on her property. However, they did find something that prompted us to escalate this investigation. Small handprints were pressed into the frost on Lisa's front windows from the inside. We have identified 4 distinct stages in these encounters based on witness reports and Detective Reynolds' investigation. Stage 1 is the initial sighting. The child appears in a residential area, always alone, always between 9 p.m. and 4 a.m. They position themselves in visible locations, driveways, front yards, sidewalks, where they're likely to be noticed by homeowners. Stage 2 involves attempted contact. If a witness approaches or attempts to help, the child will speak first, often using the person's name despite never having met them. This is your first warning sign. According to Dr. Turner, genuine lost children do not typically know the names of strangers, and they rarely speak with such confidence and clarity when distressed. Stage 3 is the test. The child will either display physical impossibilities, shadows that don't match light sources, reflective eyes that show the observer's face, movement patterns that defy normal physics, or they will attempt to manipulate the witness emotionally. They may cry, reach out, or claim to be cold or scared. This is where many witnesses report feeling an overwhelming compulsion to help, despite every instinct telling them something is wrong. Stage 4 is pursuit. If the witness fails to leave immediately, if they engage further or offer assistance, the child will follow them. Multiple witnesses report the child appearing at their homes later the same night. They will knock and speak, often saying, "It's cold out here," or "Please let me in." Janet Miller, our lead dispatch operator, has received 17 calls from people reporting children at their doors who refuse to leave when ignored. Based on these patterns, we are issuing the following safety protocols. If you encounter a child alone at night, do not approach them. We understand this contradicts every protective instinct you have, but these are not lost children seeking help. Keep walking and do not engage in conversation. Never offer assistance, even if the child appears distressed. Do not get closer if their shadow appears longer or darker than it should be given the available light sources. Avoid direct eye contact, particularly if their eyes appear unusual, completely black, reflective, or showing your own image. If any of these signs are present, you are not looking at a human child. If a child appears outside your home later, do not open the door under any circumstances. Do not respond to knocking or speaking. Janet Miller reports that in every case where someone opened their door to these children, the family stopped answering their phones within 48 hours. When officers performed wellness checks, they found the homes empty with no signs of forced entry or struggle. If the child disappears the moment you look away or blink, immediately return to your home and lock all doors and windows. Call 911, but do not mention seeing a child. Instead, report suspicious activity in your area. We have found that in cases where the child vanishes instantly, they are no longer outside your property. They are already inside your house. Detective Reynolds has been tracking missing persons reports that correlate with these sightings. In the past 11 days, 14 people have been reported missing from areas where these children were spotted. The missing persons include the Harper family from Maple Street, Tommy Brooks from the Warehouse District, and 3 other individuals who called 911 to report encounters, but were never seen again after officers arrived to take their statements. Security guard Brian Carter at Westfield Elementary has provided us with surveillance footage that we are not releasing to the public at this time. The footage shows children appearing on school grounds between midnight and 3 a.m., but they cast no shadows and do not trigger motion sensors. More disturbing, the timestamp on the footage shows these recordings were made on dates when no children should have been anywhere near the school property. Dr. Turner believes we are dealing with something that mimics human children, but lacks understanding of normal child behavior and psychology. She notes that genuine children in distress exhibit inconsistent patterns. They move around, they show varying emotions, they respond to environmental factors like cold or noise. These entities maintain perfect stillness, show no reaction to weather, and demonstrate knowledge they should not possess. We are working with state authorities to understand the full scope of this situation. Similar reports have begun surfacing in neighboring counties, always following the same pattern. Children appearing at night, speaking names they shouldn't know, following people home. The phenomenon appears to be spreading outward from our initial location at a rate of approximately 12 miles per day. What concerns us most is the increasing boldness of these encounters. Early reports describe children who would disappear when approached or investigated. Recent incidents show them persisting for hours, knocking on doors, attempting to gain entry to homes. In yesterday's reports, witnesses describe multiple children appearing together, always in groups of 3 or 4. Alex Morgan, a teenager in Pine Valley, reported seeing 5 children standing in formation outside his bedroom window at 3:17 a.m. He said they remained there until sunrise, occasionally tapping on the glass and calling his name. When his parents investigated in the morning, they found no footprints in the snow beneath his window, but the glass was covered in handprints from the outside. We need you to understand that your safety depends on following these instructions exactly. Do not approach children you encounter alone at night. Do not speak to them first. Do not offer help or open your doors. Do not attempt to photograph or record them. Several witnesses report their cameras and phones malfunctioning during encounters. If you have already had an encounter with one of these children, if you spoke to them or offered help, if you opened your door when they knocked, contact emergency services immediately using a landline telephone if possible. Do not use your cell phone. Do not mention specific details about what you saw. Simply request immediate assistance for a welfare check at your address. This broadcast will repeat every hour until further notice. We are establishing a temporary shelter at the community center for anyone who feels unsafe in their homes. Do not travel alone after dark. And remember, if you see a child standing alone at night, they are not lost. They are not scared. They are not human. And if you don't see any children at all tonight, if the streets are completely empty and silent, that doesn't mean you're safe. That means they've already found who they were looking for. This has been Emergency Coordinator Sarah Parker. Stay vigilant, stay inside, and remember, the silence is not your friend.